Hey there everybody, High Mileage Rider here. And I've now had this 2019 Super Tenere for 2 seasons. I got it in 2020, it was new in a box. I'm now at just over 54,000 kilometers. So I think it's time to do a long-term review, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we'll let you know how this gal has been doing. Let's go. Okay, welcome back everybody. So as always with all our videos, the opinions expressed here are merely my own. If you don't agree with them, that's just fine. You may think that the Super T is the biggest dog of a bike that's ever been made. You'd never have one, and that's just fine. You may think like me that it's one of the best values, the most underrated adventure bikes over 1,000 cc's. That's also just fine. There's lots of different bike manufacturers out there with lots of different motorcycles to appeal to everybody's individual needs and wants. Okay, so during this review, I've written a bunch of notes down on a piece of paper, so forgive me for looking down every once in a while. I want to make sure I keep on track and we keep hitting all the points we want to have on this video. So, as I said, this is a 2019 Yamaha Super Tenere. I now have 54,000 kilometers. I bought it at the end of 2019. I bought it at the end of 2020. It was a 2019 new in the box. It originally came black. Since then, I have obviously painted it. So I'm going to divide this video into a couple of different sections. We're going to talk about things that I love about this bike. The performance, maintenance costs, the reliability, the electronics, and then we're going to talk about things that I'm not so happy about, which is a very, very short list, but it needs to be talked about because no bike is perfect. Every bike has things, no matter how much you love it, that you wish were a little bit different. So, let's talk about performance. This parallel twin motor, in my opinion, is amazing. I know that on most forums they say it puts out between 100 and 110 horsepower, but I have ridden beside my buddy Steve, who has a 1290 KTM, and on a closed road, of course, off the line, my bike keeps up with his until we hit about 200 kilometers an hour. And then he pulls away a little bit.
Recording. All right, nobody behind us. Okay, so we'll go 1, 2, 3, and then go.
Yep.
1, 2, 3, go. What? Here comes this power. So he passed me at 180. We can stop there.
Now, is that little bit of extra power what we're actually seeing on the road, not what's written in print, worth spending an extra $8,000? Some people say it is, some people say it isn't. I'll leave that up to you to discuss in the comments below, because really, how fast do you need to go? The other really cool thing about this bike is the brakes. The brakes are absolutely fantastic. The front brake has a massive amount of stopping power, and unlike most of the other adventure bikes, the rear brake is really good on its own as well. Okay, so the next thing that is absolutely fantastic about this bike is the electronic suspension. Now, it doesn't have as many features and as many modes as a lot of other bikes, but that also means there's less stuff to break down. And reliability, which we will get to, is paramount on this bike. So, with the suspension, I've probably got 16 or 17 different modes that I can go through. I have mine set up that I have it in hard, and you could set preload, rebound. You could set it for 1 up, 2 up, 1 with luggage, 2 with luggage, and it's all done through your control here. Very, very nice feature to have, and I find it works really well and it's very responsive. This bike handles amazing no matter what the conditions throw at it. If it's 42 degrees out and you're riding across the New Mexico desert, it's amazing. If it's minus 10 degrees and you're driving in the snow going through the mountains, it's amazing. And I've done all these things on this bike. If you're riding in the pouring rain with 1 or 2 inches of rain on the ground, it's amazing. If you're hitting the twisty corners on Needles Highway or Iron Mountain Road, it's amazing. Now, a lot of that, of course, has to do with your choice of tires. I generally, previously, have run the Michelin Pilot Road 5 Trails. I found I was getting 15,000 kilometers out of the rear and 19,000 out of the front. Since then, I have made the switch to the Michelin Anarchy Adventure. My buddy has the Wilds. And so far, these tires have been great. I've got about 2,000 kilometers on them so far. They still look brand new. So again, tire choice will play a big role in that, but the way the geometry of the bike is set up, the way the motor sits in the frame, and if you want to know why this bike, despite the numbers on paper, has so much torque and is so planted and stable, I encourage you to watch Fortnine's video. Ryan does a great video on why the Super Tenere is so boring and why it performs so well. So watch that video. Now, the next thing is, with performance, is gas mileage. Because like anything, if you wring that wrist, your gas mileage will go down. I find if I'm on the highway and I set the cruise control at 120 kilometers an hour, I will get around 5.2 to 5.3 liters per 100K. And I'm finding that I start to look for a gas station at about 400 kilometers. And I'm generally out of gas around 460 to 475 kilometers. So that's pretty good range. It's got a 23 liter tank. Okay, so now we'll talk about maintenance. And while we talk about maintenance, we'll also roll into that reliability, because they kind of go hand in hand. So for maintenance, this bike, like many Japanese motorcycles, is very, very reasonably priced. I won't say cheap, but it's very reasonably priced to maintain. Standard services are very reasonable compared to other bikes, other manufacturers. One thing I just did was at 40,000 kilometers, I had my valve service done. My buddy who owns a Triumph 900 GT Pro had his valve service done at 20,000 K, which is his intervals, and it was over $1,000 to do just the valve service. I paid $450 on the Super Tenere, and the valves were perfectly in spec. When we talk about maintenance costs and reliability, the only two things that I've had any issues with on this bike in the first 54,000 kilometers are the heated grips and the left fork seal. So for the heated grips, my heated grips broke at 15,000 K. And what happened was, as best as they can guess, a wire in the throttle side had broken. So the bike still ran fine, the bike rode perfectly. I just didn't have access to the heated grips through the menu. And they were replaced under warranty, no problem. Took about a week to get them in. They had the bike for a few hours to change them. But then they broke again at 40,000 kilometers. Had them replaced again under warranty, and have been working fine ever since. I put another almost 14,000 K. If they break again, I am not going to put the Yamaha heated grips in. I'm going to go with the Oxford heated grips instead. And the reason why is I had Oxford on previous bikes, put hundreds of thousands of K on, and never had a problem with them. So I don't know if it's an issue with the grip itself, the way the wiring runs through, or what it is, but I've not been impressed with the heated grips reliability on this bike. So as I mentioned, I also had a left fork seal leak here, which I noticed about 3 weeks ago. So I just had that replaced. My buddy with the Triumph 900 GT Pro had to replace, coincidentally, a left fork seal at 20,000 K, and it cost him, I believe, around $800. I did both fork seals, even though the other one was not leaking. If one started leaking, the other one was probably not going to be far behind. And to buy the seals, the bushings, the sliders, the whole bit was $250 for the parts. And then I paid $418 for labor, so I paid, call it $650 to replace both fork seals on this bike. So I did both for less than what he paid to do one on his Triumph. Now, I've always gone to Riverside. This is where I bought the bike. This is where all the servicing gets done. Vaughn, Ian, all those guys in service are just amazing. So if you need to get service done on your Suzuki, Yamaha, KTM, I would highly advise that you go to Riverside Suzuki. Now, another really great thing about this bike, as I said earlier, was the electronics. The cruise control on this bike is amazing. It's like a car. If you set it for 120, it'll stay at 120. You can go up a pretty good incline and it will stay at 120. You can go down a pretty good incline and it will stay at 120. Now, this bike is not as fancy in the electronics. It does not have as many driving modes as many of the other bikes, but for me, how many do I need? I use the tour mode when I'm in town, because then the throttle is a little bit less abrupt. And when I'm on the highway and I'm being sporty, you know, if I hit the twisties, if I want to pass somebody, it's just a simple little click of one button and I'm in sport mode. And it brings the bike to life. Sport mode works awesome. Of course, you have linked ABS, you have traction control. The traction control, you have 3 different settings. You can have level 1, level 2, or off. Each level is more and more intrusive. The ABS, you cannot turn it off. This is another great, really interesting point. A lot of people say, well, I can't buy an adventure bike unless I can turn the ABS off, because I'm going to be riding down a dirt road and I'm going to be sliding the back end out at 80 kilometers an hour on my 600-pound bike, and I'm going to be jumping over 10-foot jumps and I don't want that ABS on. Really? Really? How many people actually do that on their 500-600-pound, over 1,000cc adventure bikes? It's sort of like buying a 4x4. Most 4x4s see snow and maybe mud if you're turning around in a parking lot, and that's it. People don't crawl up walls with them or anything else because they spend too much money on them. So for me, I find the driving modes are great, the electronics are great, they're basic, they do their job, and they don't break. 2 years old, 54,000 K. The only issues are the heated grips and that fork seal. That's it. Now, the electronic suspension, as I said, works amazing. Very easy to navigate through the menu. The lighting on this bike is wonderful. Okay, I really like the stock saddle. Now, I did take this to a place called Volker's Upholstery, and he did hollow out the back a bit, add in a comfort gel pad, because the seat does tilt you a little bit forward, which I know is the design with the adventure bikes. But given that I don't adventure that much with it, it's mostly on the road, I wanted a little flatter saddle. And it only cost me a couple $100 to do versus spending $1,000 on a whole new saddle. Luggage capacity. I have great luggage capacity on this bike. I've got the SW Motec bags. Of course, I've got the larger one on the right, the smaller one on the left. They're 37 and 45 liters. I've got the GV Monotrek case on the top. Mono key case on the top, and I believe it's 52 liters. It will hold 2 full face helmets. Engine guards, skid plate, all the protection in case you dump the bike over, hand guards, winglets in order to prevent wind from coming around you. This bike has amazing wind protection on the highway. When you're out riding at 120k on the highway, I have a clean pocket of air here. I can ride with my visor open if I chose to. I can't because I need glasses to ride, but I could ride without glasses. There's no wind going in your face. It is awesome. This is the Yamaha tall windshield with the Puig winglet on top, the flip. As I said before, I'm 6 feet tall, about 210 pounds right now, 34-inch inseam, just to give you an idea of where I would sit on the bike. Now, I think I've covered everything that I love on this bike. There's just so much stuff that I love on this bike. But there are a few things that, if I had my choice, I would have done it differently. Now, the first thing is obviously the heated grips. They probably shouldn't even have made this bike with heated grips. They should have just given you the option to buy the accessory ones, Oxford or whatever other brand you like. But yeah, the heated grips on this bike are rubbish as far as reliability, and they don't get as warm as the heated grips do with the Oxford brand. So next time these break, or if they break again, I'll be replacing them. The other thing I'm not a big fan of, but I've really gotten used to it, is the side stand. The side stand does not allow the bike to lean over, in my opinion, enough. So when you stop on the side of the road, because you got to have a pee, you're taking a picture, you want to grab a drink, it's a battle. You have to find that perfect level or slightly off camber piece of road so you can have this on the side stand and it doesn't want to tip over the other way. One viewer gave me the idea of stiffening up the suspension when I'm riding normally on the road, because when you do that, it doesn't compress as much when you put it on the side stand, and that definitely does help. It has made a big difference. It's not something that I would not buy the bike over, but it is definitely something that gets annoying and really takes some getting used to. I guess the last thing we should talk about is, would I buy this bike again? As I said, I bought this in 2020. It was a 2019 new in the box. I've got a smoking deal on this bike. I would absolutely buy this bike again. And they are still making it in 2023. And the MSRP is the same price as it was back in 2020. Now, if you wait to buy in the winter time or at the end of the season, you don't pay that price. You can get a couple $1,000s off of that. So I would absolutely buy this bike again. In my opinion, this is the best bang for the buck over 1000 cc adventure bike. It generally comes in anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000 cheaper in Canada than all of the other big name bikes, if you like them. The BMW GS, the KTM 1290, the Ducati Multistrada, the Harley Davidson Pan America, the Triumph Tiger 1200, the V-Strom 1050, which is closer to this price, but still more expensive. Yeah, it is the cheapest over 1000 cc adventure bike that you can get in Canada. The reliability, the cost to maintain, the cost to buy, and just the sheer fun factor of riding this bike. This bike puts a smile on my face every time I ride it. It always starts, it always runs. There's never been an issue with the bike other than the heated grips, which don't keep it from running, and that fork seal, which I had replaced. So I would absolutely buy this bike again. If you are looking at a large over 1000 cc adventure bike in your future, make sure you go and test ride everything, because this bike is not for everybody. You may find that it is too heavy, you may find that it is too tall, you may want more electronics, you may want more flash. So yeah, try everything. But if you are in the market for a over 1000 cc adventure bike, I think you would be doing yourself a great disservice if you did not at least look at and test drive a Yamaha Super Tenere, because it is an amazing motorcycle. As always in our videos, if you like the video, please consider subscribing to our channel, hit the like bell, hit the notification bell, that way YouTube will let you know when we have any more new videos coming out. And as always, until the next video, make sure to keep that right hand cranked and the rubber side down.